Hello, and welcome to the ShrubSMP Season 5 World Tour for the World Download. And I am here at the Season 5 Spawn Town, which has a few distinct features that we're going to talk through real quick as we start off the episode. Right off the bat, we can tell that there is a custom biome in this area that is part of the Terralith add-on that we had in this season. And it created all kind of new interesting biomes and structures in different vanilla Minecraft generation. One of those things is just behind me here, below on the ground, is pre-generated town. So instead of your basic Minecraft village, these medieval village structures are actually part of the mod pack. And what the builders did was use this as a starting area and then built up all of the spawn features around the area, including the giant sword back there where you actually spawn in just at its base. It became a popular spot for getting in and out of the area, as there is a nether portal in a hidden location, which we'll check out when we go to see my dark castle location. And for now, over here between my player and the lighthouse over there is my whole starter area, and that's where we're going to start today's tour. My season 5 starter area with my starter house, some basic farms, and then a whole town hall that I built, which was something a little new for me here in Season 5. All that and more. There were definitely some new firsts, including this mod pack on the server, and some other things that I did before the season ended. So let's head on in, head over to the starter house, and start the tour. Alright, so we can see the sword in the distance behind me, and straight ahead is the starter house. I built this starter house right off on the coastline, just outside the starter village. And we can see if I hop on up to the side, we incorporated that. Before I left this area, I actually added on this ship. I made a recreation of a vanilla Minecraft ship, built that by hand, and a little storehouse area that we'll see with some docks just before we head out of here. But yeah, a nice little coastline location and a house just right off to the side. So here it is, 6 cluster starter home. We're going to head right on inside, and the first thing we're going to see is that we have a nice view of the harbor out there and the docks from our resting bed, and a little more spacious than my last couple of starter houses, including a couple roommates that we have here. So since there was some local villagers in the village, I was able to grab a couple, and in a secret location underneath the ground had a villager breeder, and then I would bring over some of the early game villagers that we needed. Now we have Robin. I think I named him Robin like Robin Hood because he's a Fletcher and he has obviously arrows, but the big trade is to have early game stick trades, and this is an easy way to get emeralds in the early part of the game. And why do you need emeralds? So that you can also have yourself a mending villager like Mr. Menderer is over here, an extra ER on the end, and mending books, because you always need mending books early in the game to enchant all your tools so you don't break them. The other cool little feature I did inside the house, we obviously have our enchanting set up here, a little more of a different geometry than just your traditional square, just kind of tucked in the corner over here. We also have, I don't know why I named him Derek, but Derek is a mason, and we used him to trade stones and get quartz with. But once you have the house set up and you got a little storage going and some furnaces and a couple roommates to trade with and start your early game Minecraft building, we got to put some things on the outside, including crops to grow and some decorations so that things look nice and cozy in your starter area, and you can head off to your main build location, leaving behind what you know is a cool little spot off of the starter village. Alright, so we head out the front door and head up on this little elevated plateau over here. That town hall I built much later, and we'll go inside and check that out next. We just obviously have some of the crops. I'm going to head up on the roof right here and check it out. Easy little farm, just one of everything, just so you can a quick run by, manually farm what you need to help trade with some farmers, and obviously just establish your gardens. I think we'll head on down to the harbor next and check out the docks. So this was built, like I said, one of the last things I built on the server, and kind of like putting together the details of what the ground looks like, what the retaining wall might look like, and then the docks themselves. Used a little chain trick here to kind of make like a little gangplank to get up on the ship itself. And then, as we can see, no dock would be incomplete without some detailed storehouses. And if I have the middle one open here, just some boxes kind of laid throughout that you can see from the outside, especially if you're on one angle or the other. That's a cool little visual trick, just to get some spatial volume taken up. So aside from these features, like I said, the town hall was something I kind of built as an afterthought and said, I want to build a larger thing near spawn, and that's exactly what we did. So let's go over there, check on the inside, see what it looks like, and then that'll give us a chance to completely wrap up the look around the spawn area and be able to head on over to the Dark Castle 6.0. Within the town hall is the Season 5 Collector Museum. So as we go into the door, we will see that I do kind of have the collection of items in here. As we go into the first room, this is one of every plant that can be put in a pot, and it's one of every single thing. They're all kind of sitting here on the shelves, but there is one of every single potable item in here, along with one of every painting in this hallway. I think every single painting that is in this version of Minecraft is here. We have our own little sheep, Jeb the sheep, so that's another collector's item, so to speak. Jeb is actually a special sheep, because if we didn't have an automatic shear collector, which I'll go ahead and take, we'll disable it. We'll take the redstone off, give him a chance to grow up, and you'll see that when you name the sheep Jeb with an underscore after, there is a little Easter egg in the programming that allows it to have a changing color wool. And we'll see that when they take a bite of grass and grow their wool back. We'll come back. But moving right along into the next room, we have a kind of like a library area. Oh, there's still more paintings, so I had to like scatter the paintings throughout the first floor, so it looks like. And the library area with a central meeting room and some additional storage over there in the corner. I got my air conditioner trick that I started to do in terms of using decorated blocks to make it look like there's some ventilation in this room. And a nice little central chandelier feature using some iron and trapdoors. And of course, the big table for where meetings may be occurring for what's happening in the Shrub Town. All right, let's head on over to the other wing. Oh, okay, so Jeb has eaten the grass, and now you can see the wool changes colors because we've named them Jeb with the underscore. Again, a little Easter egg that most original Minecraft players are aware of. If you haven't, all you have to do is just name them Jeb with an underscore and a name tag, and you'll get the same effect in your world. Alright, we have a bee farm integrated into the inside of the house as opposed to having it on the outside of the house like I've had in the past seasons. Another feature, I've seen many, I had to look it up, there were a host of different types of grandfather clock designs, and I kind of merged two of them together, if I remember right, to create this grandfather clock in this room. So that was kind of a fun trick. But as we head into the final room before heading upstairs, another collection. Again, this is a museum, so to speak. I was collecting records. I never did get all of them, but we did get a pretty significant amount, and they're over here on the wall. More collections of items that I've either received through adventuring or through the data pack that we have on the server, or as gifts from other players. I didn't know what to do in this corner, so we threw an aquarium, but, you know, I went overboard with this thing. We said we're going to have this go right to the ceiling in this area, so we didn't have to have anything on the second floor, but we do have an overlook on the second floor, which we'll see as we head up the stairs. Okay, and as we do head up the stairs, we will see that we have a multi-layer bamboo farm going here against this wall, and what you don't see is actually, well, we can see right on the side, there is some hopper chains going on over there, and what that actually does is collect the bamboo from each level and filter it down into the basement where I have a furnace room. But it was kind of a way, again, to incorporate some decoration with some function, and then also feed it for a practical use in the early game. But the last stop at the town hall is some of the really special exhibits over here in the corner, filling out this last wing on the second floor. There are some items in here that are part of the lore of the season, or part of the lore of the ShrubSMP, the most important of which being the most sacred birch. I think somewhere along the way, there was a great birch war where some of the players really did enjoy the birch and others didn't like it so much. So we picked sides. There was this heated debate, and I was obviously on side birch, and ever since then I've commemorated that by transferring this sapling along every season, I think since season 3, and putting it somewhere in the world. Well, this time I put it on more obvious display out here in the second floor of the museum. And we have another piece of aquarium in this build, which is a couple of axolotls that are hanging out. That this looks out front. You can see that there is this kind of central integrated aquarium that you can see from the front of the building and then obviously see on the inside here. I had no idea what to put on the back. I couldn't really figure out how to enclose this side, whether or not this aquarium should go all the way through or how to manage the back of it. So I left it open and we made a little open air patio and kind of resting place out here. We got some chairs, some other furniture, and a kind of a deck that overlooks a pool. So we put the pool in last, just kind of cleared out a little space, have a little pool with a diving board out the back. So if we ever hosted any parties on the second floor around the museum, you know, all those snooty types might be interrupted by the the shenanigans that might be going on down in the pool below. Alright, I think the last thing to check out is down here in the basement. We just basically, you know, part of building this thing was having to clear out a little bit of the terraforming underneath, because this was on like a little bit of a hillside. And then once I did, I said, well, we should make a basement to this thing. It's exactly what I did. We've been collecting, wow, look at how much wool we have. That one sheep has been working overtime on the wool collection. And of course, this is the inside of the bee farm. We got the redstone for how that thing works on the inside. And the furnace array that we alluded to. So that bamboo is the fuel that powers these furnaces, and I could always come down here and just fill them up with stuff to smelt, like my iron and copper. So I think that's about it in terms of the whirlwind tour for the starter area, because once again, it's just a way to get started, provide some decoration to the village around, and kind of incorporate yourself into the theme of what's going on with the other players. But for now, it's time to head into the Nether, see the Nether hub, of course, as we always do on a ShrubSMP world tour, and follow it to my Dark Castle location. Alright, actually, before I do that, I guess I have to address the giant end city that you may have seen on and off during this introduction. In the background over here, right near the end of the season, I had already finished the Dark Castle, I finished everything, and the server was still open. I tried to figure out what I was going to do, and I thought about recreating, you know, a big statue of a mob or a player like I have done in previous seasons, or a monster. And then I said, why not just make a recreation of an existing structure? And I made this giant city in the background, included with an end ship. And if I remember right, I think there's actually an elytra up there with a special message if anybody took the trouble to go up there and look for it. Alright, kind of walking around back in the middle of spawn over here, one of the buildings, the church, has the secret to get into the Nether. So, as we see over here, the sign at the time said this coffin has an ominous aura, and it certainly did, because it was closed until the Nether was opened by the community, and once it was, we were able to come down here, see what lies beneath. Kind of a very spooky entrance to the Nether portal and the Nether dimension, which we go through and see another amazing build by the builders. Boy, this thing is just really wild. So this season definitely obviously a castle vibe as we go through the entrance, and then a hub that again goes in 4 directions. And within the 4 directions, they are all themed by different colors, and you would kind of understand and remember which color your direction was. And then if you needed to, like the green direction over here, if we take a step back, you can see it's green themed, all kind of different green blocks head in that direction. And that is exactly where our Dark Castle is, so we'll check that out in a second. We also had a better Nether data pack on here, which made the Nether have all kind of different biomes. We see this tunnel that leads off to another area in the blue direction, or I guess this is the teal. Nope, definitely the blue. And we have the red and orange. I think this is red. Yep, and the fire theme down here, and another thematic tunnel, and the purple direction, which is actually behind the portal back where we came in. We use these lecterns to say who's in which direction, the green, blue, red, or purple, and I know that I'm in this green, and if I just look, there I am at these coordinates in the Nether, right down if I follow this green pathway. Alright, we're approaching my entrance, and I definitely decorated it up a little bit over the top if you ask me, but that was back in Season 5. We can see here's the entrance using a little smoke trick, and I'm using particle effects underneath. These are actually ender chests, which give off the particles, so it kind of has a lot going on in terms of the animations leading into this portal to the Dark Castle. Alright, we've arrived, and as we head out the portal and kind of look up, we can see we are surrounded by this black stone barricade and a giant black stone multi-tier tower that is the Dark Castle location. And we'll talk about some of the things that give it its special character and how it was incorporated here in Season 5, and even some lore about what's going on with the base of that castle right there, as you can see. But what we'll do, we're in creative mode, so we can fly up in the air instead of having to swim around. We're going to get a bird's eye view. We're going to go straight to the top of the Dark Tower here and look down before we head inside and see all of the builds and details that are in there, including the farms right at the top. Let's start there. This is a multi-layer creeper farm, and as a matter of fact, that was one of the fun ideas that I had, and we'll see how it functions when we get to the bottom. Oh, but spoiler alert, there go the creepers. I thought it would be a fun idea for the creepers to be falling through the center of the tower, and that's exactly what happens. And then we'll see how that gunpowder is collected. But as I look off the edge, really, everything's happening inside the tower. We made 3 open-air courtyards, and each one has a little bit of a decorated outdoor theme, including a structure down there. I believe that's the horse farm we'll see at detail. A nice little flower garden off to the side with a flower farm, and I believe on the other side is an axolotl sanctuary with a whole bunch of flowers. But making this build was really something else. I mean, obviously it had a lot of blackstone involved, so collecting that stuff from the Nether was really something. As we kind of hop down towards the entrance, back down here on ground level, this area was originally, I came across it as this kind of like crater, and on the crater was this little island in the middle, and it turned into a perfect location to build such a cool structure. I said, well, it's surrounded by area, we can have it kind of surrounded by these walls and build some structures out there, but having a central island and having something come out of it, which turned out to be this giant tower as opposed to just a more modest structure, I don't even know how I came up with that idea. And because there's a waterway that kind of leads into the area, I built these 2 towers with a little bit of a bridge that go over it, and they light up at night. It looks really nice. So now that we've kind of walked around, or flew around, I guess, the outside, and we're here on the ground, before we head in, it's time to talk about something else that I did that's new, and that's these trees and the base of the tower here. So the trees are kind of reacting to what's happening at the base. So we check out what is happening with the base. I just put, it's almost like this gold and multi-layer gold and the frog lights and everything with this yellow powerful color. We got orange at the bottom, indicates who knows what's actually powering this. Maybe it's some type of supernatural core that's powering it, that's keeping it hovering. So whether or not this thing's actually launching off and going to break away from its arms and take into space, or it actually has to hover here as part of the way that it functions, and it actually can never touch the ground, so it's constantly hovering. That kind of gave me the idea that it would have had to blow out the rocks underneath it as it came down to kind of land here if it came from the air. And to do that, these blocks are curling out from the middle outward, and I've kind of created that effect all around the outside here, as we can see. These blocks just flying out from the middle in the air in a kind of an angular direction. And then as we head back to these trees at the back, kind of same thing. These trees are all getting blown over. They're all getting blown out to the side, kind of exploded. We got some of the fences as pieces of the tree. Leaves are getting blown all over the place, and they're all angling away from this central core thing. Again, could never really tell if it's coming up or down or hovering or how this happened, but I just started building with that in mind, and that was the effect that we came up with, at least here surrounding this base. Alright, well now it's time to go check out what's happening on the inside. And this is where I spent a heck of a lot of time, because we have a full storage system, as is the usual. This is an auto smelter, so I think the way that this functioned is those are the items on one side, and the fuel would be put on the other side. Let's just go ahead and push the button and watch the cart go up. The cart goes up to the second layer, and you can see there is an auto smelter up there. This is a standard 2 minecart auto smelter, which supplies one level is the input items, the other level is the fuel, and it's already full of coal. So if I were to send any smelting items through, let's go ahead and do that now. Just to give it a test, let's go ahead and put some stone in there and launch it away. We'll see as we fly up in the air, it'll distribute and they'll all start to smelt up and they'll get collected in the chest here. Alright, so to round out the rest of the inside of the Dark Castle tour, we're going to go flying up in the air and check out what we have on every level and describe what we see. So just to explain though, how this creeper farm works. So all the way at the top, these creepers would be falling down this central tube and then down into that orange carpet. Now underneath that orange carpet, I have a collection system that then distributes them into a waterway, their drops, their gunpowder. And the gunpowder would then come all the way up on either side into this bubble vader. And then the gunpowder would come up here, it would get shot up in the air, and then kind of land in this water, convey its way into this water stream, which just so happens to be the gunpowder collection. I kind of built everything around this central feature where these these creepers are just falling down, getting collected. Kind of a neat idea. Again, I've been trying to make some more movement into these builds. So like even some, you know, the mine carts moving around and the items flying around in the water and the creepers falling from the sky. We got drips and drops, and let's talk about that next. So with the drips and drops comes, if we find, they're basically pipes. I use these trapdoors to create like a piping system, and if we follow the piping system all the way around, it actually, we already passed one thing that gets connected to it, but we'll go to the very top where we find a sugarcane farm. Very standard sugarcane farm, but the special thing about this one is here on the end there's a little bit of redstone in there, where as the sugarcane gets collected, it gets put into a dispenser that then shoots it out into this water pipe, and then it snakes its way around where we see a second water collection system, and that just above is from our farmer villagers. So we have automatic farmers. Oh, we just saw some creepers fall down. There goes some more. It's kind of fun. I just love seeing these guys just fly down to their demise, knowing that I'm going to collect all that gunpowder for the rocket shop back at spawn. Anyway, the farmers collect their drops here, all the different crops, and they throw them to another villager that's kind of stuck back here, and their drops get sucked into those mine carts with hoppers down into a dispensing system behind this red wood, which would then dispense it into the water and down into the piping system. They would then merge together eventually after we continue to snake around into the last farm, the melon and pumpkin automatic redstone farm, and it would dispense into the pipeway. They would all get connected and find their way all the way down into the storage system. So this is the singular input to where all those items would get distributed throughout the storage system. So yeah, a couple really cool ideas. Again, never did anything like water transfer pipes or automatic dispensing of farms in my time in Minecraft, and here in Season 5 we did it again. Just another first for me in the Dark Castle build. But we are almost done the tour. All we have to really do is check out these 3 courtyards. But over in the flower courtyard, I built just some decorations into the open space around as we hop up in the air once again, and kind of these repeating patterns in the ground of all the different flowers on one side versus the other side. A little bridge to kind of get from one side to the other. These cool little benches, again with the use of some uncommon different blocks to kind of bring this thing together to make it look like an actual thing. And over here is an automatic flower farm. So that's the decorative courtyard number 1, and then as we fly on over to number 2, we find a horse farm where all the horses of this dark castle are kept in their pen, and kind of, again, just a really cool amount of detail with the wood and the stone and all the horses with their armor on in here. And flying over to the last stop, the other courtyard, is the axolotl sanctuary, which I just built entirely out of copper, where the axolotls can swim from one side. They're over here. They can swim directly above you to the other as you walk through, and can stop by and visit and say hi to these guys. And also a bee field, so plenty of flowers and wheat over here, and we have all kind of beehives just stuck throughout. We got several on the ground over here, and then a couple single ones up on the side, but these bees will just be floating around, and obviously they're very happy in these tulip fields over here, as any happy bees would be. And speaking of happy, I'm very happy with the amount of work that went in and how things turned out in this dark castle, or the dark tower as it is behind me there. It was a ton of fun and another hard season's worth of work, but it did all come together in the end. Well, it was a little bit of a whirlwind tour, but like we said, there was plenty to see, especially around the starter area. A lot more building than I've ever done before there, and of course, as we see the dark tower, dark castle area behind me, wow, it was really a large project in terms of the amount of blackstone and the expansive area for building and all those cool things that we had on the inside of the tower and squeezing them into that space. But for now, it's time to check out all of the amazing other things that many of the builders built here on the ShrubSMP Season 5 in the final cinematic montage of the World Tour series. So enjoy!